Good afternoon and welcome everybody to today's webinar hosted by ECIS. ECIS is the Educational Collaborative of International Schools, established for 55 years as a not-for-profit organisation. We have over 500 members in 78 countries. My name is Georgie McIntyre and I am the Chief Learning Officer at ECIS, and it's my pleasure to introduce today's webinar. ECIS are also proud to be members of the International Schools Recovery Forum alongside Together Schools and Clear Path Alerts. Some general housekeeping today before I introduce our guest. We will be sharing a recording of today's webinar and there will be an opportunity at the end to ask questions via the chat box, but I would invite you to put comments and questions in either the Q&A or the chat box, and I will share those with our guest today. As part of the ECIS community, we have a number of key partners who provide support and services to our schools community. ECIS are extremely proud to be partnered with TextHelp. Please let me introduce our expert today. Patrick McGrath is the resident education technology strategist at TextHelp. A passionate educator, Patrick is an accomplished international speaker, blogger, panelist, and contributor across a wide range of media, whilst focusing on how technology can make a real and meaningful impact on teaching and learning for all. Patrick has a particular interest in inclusion and equality for all. He is an Apple education mentor and a Google certified educator. Patrick received the UK Digital Leader 100 Award in 2016, and he's worked with thousands of schools on areas such as literacy, maths, and inclusion. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming and handing over to Patrick. Good afternoon, Patrick.
Good afternoon, Georgie, and good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to be here. And thanks for that very impressive intro. I don't know who wrote that, Georgie. It couldn't have been me at that stage, but thank you for that. It's very much appreciated. And just to reiterate, thanks to all of you joining us today. It's obviously been a difficult and challenging number of months for all of us. We've all adapted, we've all embraced change. And I know it's hard at this time of year to get involved in online training as you are today. So I really, really appreciate your time. And today will be a good mix, I hope, of a presentation and also some live demos of some of the tools and some of the ways that we can help create maths resources fast. That's probably a better picture of me than I think Georgie had up earlier. That is my Bitmoji. I have to stress that that is me pre-lockdown. There's two things have changed. One is the haircut, which is drastically shorter, and the second one is the belly hasn't got any smaller alongside the haircut. But as we go forward, if you want to reach out to me after today, you can get me edtech@texthelp.com, or please do follow me on Twitter at th_PatrickM. My role in TextHelp is as education technology strategist. And that really means that my focus is entirely on teaching and learning. How do we take technology, educational technology, how do we apply it to the classroom, and how do we make sure that it underpins our drive for quality and good pedagogy and practice? And really, I suppose my role has changed much like yours has over the last few months. A lot of it focused on remote learning, how we support children and our students at home, as well as at school, and looking forward to the new academic year and the potential changes that we may have, and helping teachers and educators around the globe generate that good practice alongside tools, not only from TextHelp, but with education technology in mind in general. So it's my pleasure to be spending the next hour or so with you today. And just as an introduction, before we get into the maths piece, which I know you're all here for, just to put in perspective where we come from in terms of TextHelp. We're based in Belfast, just outside Belfast in Northern Ireland, so part of the UK. And products you may well have heard of from us before, things like Read and Write, in use across the globe to support literacy, in use by 25 million students around the world on every platform imaginable, Google, Microsoft. And really, it was designed to help support students in every aspect of literacy, no matter their language. And that's maybe the one you would have heard of and the one that we're most well known for. But on top of that, I'm going to be showing you today something that ties really well in with maths and resources. And that's our PDF tool. And that's just called TextHelp PDF Reader. That's going to help us make PDFs accessible and actionable. And that's really important in the context of maths. If we're handing out worksheets or practice sheets or past papers to work through digitally and online, that's going to really help us. We've then got in grey there WriteQ, and that automatically assesses digital writing. So it'll check for spelling, punctuation, and grammar, and it'll help teachers mark to a mark scheme or rubric and provide automated feedback. And last and definitely not least for today is, of course, EQUATIO, and that is our maths tool. And this is a tool that's going to help us express maths digitally. So when we're looking at digital devices, no matter what they are, no matter what platform they work with, EQUATIO is designed to allow pupils and teachers to easily create maths in all sorts of ways on digital devices. And I'll be running you through just the basics of that as we go through today. So that's the product family from TextHelp. It's a complete solution for all aspects across the curriculum. And I should say before we start today on the specifics of maths that all of those products that you saw there, and particularly when we come to look at maths, we'll be looking at it in a blended learning way. So we'll be looking at it from the perspective of how can we use this in class, how can we use it out of class, and how can we use it when we're in between both of those two. So the strategies we look at are designed to incorporate and encompass both of those areas, at home and in class, or a mixture of both. So let's get right in and talk about maths. I'm going to take you through a few slides just to start off with. So for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to pop through, we're going to run you through each of the areas that EQUATIO can support maths in. We're going to explain why we do that and how we do it. And then when we're finished that, we're going to use the rest of our time and the bulk of our time to jump into a live view. And I'll be showing you how we can reuse and recycle and recreate maths resources using this EQUATIO tool. So EQUATIO was really designed with one thing in mind. And if you've seen our marketing people have a strapline, I tend to not use it overly. But the strapline is quite a good one. It's make maths digital. And that's really why EQUATIO was designed, because we recognized that when we were asking students to start to express maths digitally, they were staying with pen and paper. And we're going to look at how we can continue to do that even in a digital format in a second. But the reason that was happening was because the tools that students had available to them, if we were asking them to express or solve a problem within, say, a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word doc, the way that they can type maths was archaic. It was difficult to grasp. It wasn't pleasurable to do. We could do one line at a time. And EQUATIO was really designed to solve that problem and give students and teachers a way to create maths and express maths no matter how they want to go about that. And I'll show you the few ways they do that in a second. Before we get to that, we're going to be looking at EQUATIO purely running within Google Chrome. So I'm going to show it to you as a Chrome extension. That's an easy thing to download. It's an easy thing to get up and running. And you'll be able to do everything that you see today within Google Chrome. But the same features are still available on a Windows machine or on a Mac. It's the same simple download and the same features exist right there. So just because I'm on a Mac, today, you can absolutely get this on Windows. This will work with Microsoft Word. So don't worry about the fact that I'm using Google Docs if that's not something that you do use. So in terms of features, EQUATIO comes as a toolbar, and it has an additional set of buttons that it's going to deliver on top of things like Google Docs or Google Slides or Microsoft Word. And it gives students and teachers ways to input maths that they have never had before. So things like they can type maths in a very natural way. They can write maths with a stylus on a touchscreen device in their own handwriting, and that gets converted to digital format. You can, and they can, express and use it as a LaTeX editor. And that's going to be really useful later on when we edit maths. And it has built into these smart prediction. So for example, if we want to type squared, we can start with the letters SQ. So we can type squared and it will prompt us and give us the correct maths notation for that. So we've got that. We've got different ways to express maths, and I'll take you through each one of those in a second. We've also got graphing built in, and we've got what we call math space, which I'm going to show you towards the end of today, which gives us the capability to draw on manipulatives, to also draw diagrams and shapes. So whether you're at elementary level and you want a simple number line or a simple set of coin counters, you have access to those manipulatives and shapes. If you're doing higher level maths or IB level maths, you've got access to all of those maths, shapes and tools that you need. If you are studying physics or chemistry, you've got facilities built in there that can draw on the right level of math. So no matter what level you're teaching, EQUATIO has the tool there that can support individual students. It's also got Desmos graphing built in, which we'll take a little bit of a closer look at, and that's great to draw on libraries of graphs that other teachers have created and allow us to reuse those in our own resources. And that, of course, works everywhere, and we'll explore that in a little second as we go. But there's 5 areas that we want to focus on when we talk about EQUATIO and we talk about resources. Number 1 today, how do we create a resource? Number 2, how do we use that resource and build it into some sort of formative assessment? And we want to be able to do that easily, and we want to be able to do it quickly. It has to be work savvy, it has to be smart and help us create those quickly. We want to be looking at workflow. Can we produce these resources and easily share them with students, receive them back, and also mark them or add feedback? And feedback is the next point on the list, because that's very important no matter how we're generating resources. And the one that I'm actually going to start off with when we get to the demo is actually completion. How do we give students the tools they need to complete, say, a maths worksheet or a past paper or some practice questions, and give them the tools to complete that in a very intuitive type way? So those are the 5 areas that we're going to cover. So let me just talk you through these really, really quickly, just so you're aware when we get to the toolbar what each of these buttons do. On the left-hand side, we've got our equation editor. That's going to allow us to type equations in natural language. Okay, we've then got Desmos. That will pull up and let us create graphs really, really easily, or import graphs from Desmos really, really quickly. We've then got the handwriting tool, the pencil with the letter A beside it there. And this will allow us to handwrite maths using a stylus or a touchscreen device. We've got our microphone, that's dictation. So students can dictate maths, or when you're creating resources, you can simply speak into the microphone on a device and the maths will be written out in the correct notation on screen. The next one is really important. That's, believe it or not, a picture of a mobile phone. So that is EQUATIO Mobile. And we'll see this in action in a few minutes. But this is the most important thing that you may well see today, because many of our students want to still write maths on paper. We still have book work to do, and that's by far their preferred medium, not digital. So what this enables us to do is a pupil, a student, can take a photograph of their piece of bookwork, their written work on a bit of notepaper, and it will turn it to a digital format and put it right into a document, right in the Google Classroom, right into a form. So we're starting to build a bridge for students. And for you, it means that you can take a photograph from a booklet or some sample questions and have it turned into an accessible maths question on a form. So we're going to see how we do that. The next question, or the next icon you'll see there, is MathSpace. That's the manipulatives that I talked about earlier. And then we've got Screenshot Reader. And this is going to be very important when we look at reusing resources, because this little feature, this one little button, will let us drag a box over any maths we find anywhere, and will allow us to grab that maths content and change it and put it anywhere we want it to be. This is much more powerful than taking a screenshot that's low resolution, that can't be edited, can't be changed, can't be resized. This lets us do it. And on the far right hand side, for any of you scientists out there and mathematicians, we have a built-in Desmos calculator, so students can use this, but also we have the periodic table of elements built in as well. And we won't have time today to go through those things, because we'll be focusing today on these 4 that you see on screen: inserting graphs, inserting handwritten notes, inserting manipulatives, and creating a workflow for our students, and this screenshot reader that you see in front of you here right now. Okay, so those are the areas that we'll be focused on. So let's just jump right into our next slide, and let's think about, if we need to reuse or grab resources from elsewhere, what might we have access to, and what might we be able to reuse when it comes to making resources to help us create resources fast? The first one, images. So if we take a photograph of anything, if we access a photograph online, we can grab maths from that photograph. So if this is a picture of real life maths on a billboard, we could grab that. If it's simply a picture from a book, we can grab that maths as well. So we can grab maths from pictures. We can grab it from web pages. So anytime we come across maths content on a web page, we can grab it and we can reuse it and put it into our own document. We can also grab maths from videos. So a YouTube video that's an explainer video that has drawn out a solution or has posed a question, if we see that online, we can simply drag our screenshot reader over it and grab the material directly from that. PDFs. So many practice PDF worksheets, example questions out there. We may just want to pull out 1 or 2 questions and reuse that in our own resources. We can do that with Screenshot Reader. So we can grab from PDF. And last, and just to reinforce the point, we can, of course, create digital resources from handwritten notes. So if you have maths challenges that you want to pose to students and you have it written down in handwriting, we can simply take a photograph of that and we can turn it automatically into a digital format. So those are where we can grab maths from. So the tools that we're going to use, Screenshot Reader, okay, so that's going to help us across all of those formats. Mobile, that's going to help us from written work. And Desmos graphing, that's going to help us directly from the Desmos community and also to create graphs themselves. And so what we need to do now is we just need to get out of our PowerPoint or our slide deck that we have on screen. And what we're going to do is look at these things properly hands-on. And so I'm going to take you through, to remember each of those 5 areas we looked at. Let me just pop back to one of our opening screens right here. So these 5 areas, so I'm going to refer back to these as we go. Creating a resource, building that into formative assessment, creating a workflow, adding feedback, and helping students complete things. So first of all, I'm going to look at this very last one, completion. Really easy thing. What's the fastest way to create a maths resource? And the reality is to download a PDF piece of maths. Okay, so we can download this. This is from Corbett Maths. So this is a simple practice paper with practice questions in here, a mark scheme associated with it. So the fastest way to create a resource is to either purchase it or download any of the free resources that there are online and send it to our students. Now here's what happens. When we have access to EQUATIO, we can provide this to students and allow them to insert the maths directly on top of this PDF. This is a PDF. It's very hard to write maths on this. We could give them the ability to just do freehand drawing. So we could ask them, for example, in this case, to start writing this out. That's quite hard if you don't have a particular stylus or touchscreen device. So I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to show you a much faster way to do it. So I'm just going to delete those annotations right here. Okay, and I'm going to use the power of EQUATIO. So I've opened EQUATIO, this little extension button right here. This pop-up box has now appeared at the bottom left of my screen, so I can get access to all the tools that you've seen earlier. So let me show you how we do that, okay? So in Equation Editor, I'm going to press the button, and this is allowing students to complete on a PDF. So for example, if I wanted to, in this case, start to work this out, okay, I could start to simplify this really easily by keying in the essential answers within this PDF question. So I can start this by pressing enter. I can jump and I can start to go S, and I'll go over to S, and I'll go over T, okay, equals U plus V. Okay, so I can start to type maths in a very easy way. I could, as a student or as a teacher, start to use these additional resources, maybe dictation, maybe handwriting, maybe graphs. But I'm just going to want to insert that directly into my worksheet. And there we go. Straight away, we have this answer. Well, it's not the final answer. I know you'll know that, maths teachers on there. I have one more line to go to solve this. But now I've been able to complete a worksheet using this toolbar really easily. This is just a PDF. As a teacher, I'm able to reuse the resource and give it to students to complete without any work, as long as they have this EQUATIO extension, okay? So that's how we can help students complete work. Let's go right the way back and go through the toolbar really quickly, and then I'll show you how we can get work from elsewhere. So let's go through the toolbar. Okay, so this is just a blank Google document. I'm going to zoom in on this, make it a little bit bigger for us to see today. Okay, so right here, I'm going to open the EQUATIO toolbar. And let's assume for a minute this was me as a teacher starting to create a resource. So we've now got the ability to go down to my equation editor, and let's say we were doing spheres. Okay, so with spheres, we might want to type in the volume of a sphere. So I'm going to put volume of a sphere equals 4 over. So I've used the slash key, but students could simply type over depending on how they're expressing mass. 4/3, and I now want the pi symbol. So how would I get pi? I simply type pi. You'll see me typing pi, and EQUATIO will now prompt this up on screen. Okay. If I want to then type cubed, all I have to do is press CU for cubed, and I can insert cubed directly into my maths. If I wanted a new line, I could just press enter, just like I would on a text editor, and create a new line. So as I create this resource, I can simply press insert maths, okay? And that maths will be inserted directly on the screen. I can justify this the way I want. I can set the font size. I can do that in any way that suits me. I can align it. I can increase the size, and we can do that as we start to express maths. So other ways that then you could use this to create maths. So if, for example, I can jump straight into a LaTeX editor, and I can copy and paste LaTeX that I already have right into this. And watch what happens. See over here, if I delete this maths, okay, and I start to express some maths difference, so I'll go minus b, and I'll go plus or minus, and I'll do square root. You know where I'm going here? I'm going right the way through the quadratic equation, but you'll see as I type the maths on this right hand side, the LaTeX appears on the left, and this is going to be important as we go forward. How do we edit maths from other sources? So this gives me the ability to use LaTeX for that. We've also got handwriting. So we won't have time to go through this today, but really simply, I can maximize this, and I can, as a student, start to express maths really easily. This is me using a mouse, so it's a little bit clunky, but you can see even with my handwriting, it's going to express maths digitally on the right-hand side. All I have to do is press insert maths, and that will insert the maths directly into my document right here in front of me. If I want to, as a teacher, and I want to actually express maths just using voice, I can turn on speech input. I can press this button, and it's not going to work over Zoom for me. This doesn't actually work over Zoom, unfortunately, but I'll try it anyway. 4x squared plus 4x minus 2. Yeah, it's close enough over Zoom. Okay, so that will allow me to dictate maths, multiple lines of maths, and insert it directly into my document. So in terms of, at its very basic, being able to create resources quickly, EQUATIO can really help us. Let's look at one last thing before we jump into how we grab resources from elsewhere, and that is MathSpace. So if I jump into MathSpace just by pressing that icon, it's going to take me to a brand new page. And if you think back to what we were talking about a few moments ago, MathSpace gives us the ability to insert images. So if I want to, for example, do something really simple, all I want to do here is ask a student in my resource to find a side of the shape. So I can insert a shape easily. I can insert a label for that shape. Okay, so I'll insert the C right there, and I'm going to ask them to find C, and we'll reuse all of these later. But wait a minute, this actually isn't a right angled triangle because I haven't marked it up. I haven't been clear with my students. So I can do this. I can mark the right angle, and I could, of course, add labels to each of these, but watch what happens. If I just press insert, that's going to allow me, in this case, to put that image, that diagram, directly into my document. That's all fully accessible. So I now have a fast way to create maths resources from scratch. Okay, so I can create them from scratch really easily. But the purpose of today, though, was to look beyond that and say, right, well, how can we reuse resources? And you'll see here I've got lots of tabs open, so I'm going to grab resources from lots of these different areas directly on screen. Okay, so let me go down and let me show you how Screenshot Reader works. And this will set the scene for how we might use it going forward. So Screenshot Reader, this icon here, remember I've opened up EQUATIO, I've got Screenshot Reader, I'm going to click it. Watch what happens. If I drag over this content, right here, you'll see that blue box appears. That's going to make this fully accessible. Excuse me. Okay, but it gives us access to this additional button right here, okay? And this is how we can copy it. So I can copy LaTeX, and you're going to see this through multiple formats as we go, okay? And then we're going to be able to close this out. I'm going to be able to go right the way in. Let me go down to just a new line, and I'm going to go right the way down here in the LaTeX, and I'm going to actually just paste this. So remember, EQUATIO copied it in 2 clicks. And right here, I'm going to press Insert Maths. And you'll see that that maths is now inserted directly on the screen. So we've been able to capture maths from elsewhere. But here's what's important about this. Once it's in a document and EQUATIO has touched it, we can now go and we can edit this maths. So perhaps I want to change this number here and I want to make that cubed. And perhaps I want to change this to a 6. And perhaps I want to change this to a 6 as I go. And then I'm going to press Insert Maths. You'll see I've been able to take a question really easily from elsewhere and have been able to adapt it in double quick time. So if we have a paper where we have a standardized question and we want to create variants of the same question, it's very easy just to grab Screenshot Reader and keep changing the question and some of the numbers within the question. So it makes it easy for us to do this. So let's go a wee bit further than this, right? Let's go out beyond Google Docs. So we've seen the tools that we might be able to use to edit. Let's go beyond Google Docs, okay? So I'm going to go right here, okay? I'm going to go first thing, a web page, okay? Now, you'll remember that we can grab maths from a web page and reuse it. So let's say I'm going through BBC Bitesize, I'm on GCSE curriculum here, or going through another web resource, and I see here that this is a good example question that I want. I don't need to type it out. I don't need to copy and paste it because I want it to stay exactly as it should be. So I open up EQUATIO. I open up Screenshot Reader. So this is the bar that will appear within a web page. I drag just by clicking and holding my mouse down. Okay. I've now selected this content. It's going to read it out loud, but in this case, I just want to copy LaTeX. So I've pressed those 3 buttons, copy LaTeX. I'm going to go right the way back to my document. And all I'm going to do is open up LaTeX. I'm going to get rid of what was in there last. And I'm going to simply paste. And there, that exact maths content that was on that BBC Bitesize page is now plugged directly into my resource. So you can see here right now, that has now inserted that directly onto my screen, okay? So I've now got access to this content and I've been able to grab the words as well. So a full question we're able to grab. So let's see how this might work in PDFs. So here's a practice PDF paper, thanks to Corbett Maths for this paper. So this is just a practice paper, lots of questions. We looked at this one previously before. I'm going to do something different with this. I like this question and I want to reuse it, but you can see here that how maths has been expressed isn't actually that fabulous. The X is not in the correct notation. So again, let's start from scratch. Open up EQUATIO, press Screenshot Reader, and all I'm going to do is drag my blue box by clicking and holding over the maths that I want to capture. It's going to show me what that maths looks like, and you'll hear in the background, it's actually playing it out loud, so as I can hear the maths as well. I press my 3 buttons, copy LaTeX, and if I go right the way back to my document, and remember, this could be any document at all. This could be a Word document, a Google document. I go to LaTeX. Remember to get rid of the last maths that was in there, and I'm going to paste it in, okay? And now the maths is being generated, but maybe I want to do a variant on this. I like the question, but I want to change it. So I'm going to change the denominator there to 6, and I'm going to press Insert Maths, okay? And what happens? that edited maths is now inserted in the correct notation directly into my document. So all I would have had to do is lay out the question table, and I'm able to paste in maths really, really easily. So let's see if we move on beyond this, okay? And we could, of course, pick any maths here that we wanted, but I'm going to move on to a similar sheet, again, from Corbett Maths. And this is starting to look at functions, okay? And perhaps as I go through this sheet, I go, here's a particular question I want to send to my students. Copy and paste isn't going to work very well within this. But what we can do is we can press EQUATIO, we can press Screenshot Reader, and we can drag the box over all of that, including the text, okay? It's going to grab that. It's going to play it out so we can hear it, but I just want to copy LaTeX. I want to go right the way back to my document. Okay, and right the way back here, again, I'm going to go into LaTeX. I'm going to get rid of the old maths that was in there, and I'm simply going to paste. And there, my LaTeX has now been pasted, but I'm really only interested in this area right here. But let's say that I want to change something in this question. It's very easy for me to do that just by clicking anywhere in this question and insert the maths directly in. Okay, so I can do this really, really easily. And I can grab content from web pages. I can grab content from PDFs. I can have them OCR'd. I can make them accessible, and I can add them into any document that I need. So let's go to something else. Let's look at something else more creative, okay? So, of course, if I go to a web page and that web page happens to have video content on it, I can get access to this content easily with EQUATIO. It's not easy to copy and paste from a video, but let's say easily, I want to click my EQUATIO button. I want to click my screenshot reader. I could grab this content here really easily. Let's see how that would look. Okay, so I could take that sample question and I could copy the LaTeX just like I did before, and I could pop it directly into my document. I don't want to do that in this instance because I actually want this piece as the explainer, because I don't want to have to retype this out. This is a video, okay? But I'm just going to go screenshot reader, and I'm going to drag over the video piece right here, the maths in the video. And you'll see here that it's going to automatically scan it. It's going to turn it into maths, and it's going to let me copy the LaTeX back to the document. And now it's going to let me open my LaTeX editor. Again, always going to get rid of the last maths that I had there, and I'm going to paste it directly into the document. It's in the correct notation. It's the correct format. I could change any of that just in this window. So if I want to change that, in this case, I want to change that to an 8, I can do that. And if I insert maths, you'll see here, as I drag this just down the screen, you'll see here that that maths was inserted directly in. So I've started to be able to grab content from absolutely anywhere at this stage. So I've been able to take from PDF, from web pages, from videos, from images, across the board. I've been able to grab content from anywhere that I want. But there's another way that we can grab content. So we've looked primarily at Screenshot Reader, the ability to grab accessible maths content, editable maths content from any location within a browser or within a desktop. But I want to go one step further at this stage, and I want to be able to use my mobile device to insert maths. So we may want to take a photograph of a document and scan that in. We may want to take a photograph of a booklet and scan that in. So let's look at it in two ways, okay? So the first way I'm going to look is I'm going to show you how you would take a photograph really easily and import it into a resource. Press EQUATIO Mobile, and you'll see here that a little QR code comes up. Now, what I'm going to do here, and hopefully this will go okay for us, I'm going to actually share my mobile live with you. So if any pop-up text messages come from my daughter, either looking for data for her mobile phone or money, please do ignore them. 16-year-olds have a habit of doing that. But I am going to share directly with my Mac, my iPhone screen, just so you can see what a student would see directly on the screen here. So let's give it a second, and let's have this code pop up on screen. So hopefully you'll be able to see this in just 2 seconds. So let's go 5192, okay? So now you can see my screen directly, there you go. And there's my lovely dog, Charlie. But this is exactly my mobile phone screen, okay? So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to move and I'm going to open up my camera just by pressing the camera icon. So this is a student, or this could be a teacher, okay? So here's my Mac in front of me right here, right now. And I'm going to go over this QR code and I'm going to simply press the Safari button and it's going to open up Safari for me right now, okay? So this is live, you're seeing, and it's automatically going to find the document I'm working on. There's my reuse and recycle document, okay? And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use this tool. I haven't had to download anything. This is just a web page, so I haven't had to get anything on my device, so this works anywhere. All I'm going to do is press the camera button, okay? And I'm going to go through, and here you'll see, here is my very messy desk, okay? And here is a workbook, and here is some handwritten work. So first of all, I want this particular piece here. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to zoom in. And this is just a practice maths booklet. And you'll see what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to drag the maths handle and I'm going to drag it directly over all the maths that I actually want to capture right here, okay? So I'm going to drag it over here. That's all I've done. That's just a blurry photograph from a GCSE level workbook. I'm going to press the tick button. I'm going to press Save as Maths. And you'll see that what it's done now is it's turned that maths to digital format. I'm going to press the Insert button. And guess what happens right in the background? If I just minimize this, you're going to see that that maths is now clearly on the screen. So those sample questions from a photograph that I've just taken with an iPhone in a dimly lit room is now directly plugged into my resource deck. But I can do something else. I can also, I'll go back to my phone here. I'm going to press this button, okay? I'm going to start from scratch, okay? I'm going to press my camera button and I'm going to go right the way back to my camera. And this is different, okay? So here, right, I'm going to go over some handwritten work. So this is a handwritten question that I have answered. And this, as you can see, is just Pythagoras theorem and working out a side on a right angle triangle. But I've worked it out. Could be a student, could be you as a teacher working out a solution and sharing that with students digitally. All I'm going to do is press the tick box. I'm going to press Save as Maths. And there it's automatically, that handwriting of mine is now turned into maths content. I'm going to press the blue button that you see in the bottom of my phone, okay? And what happens is, that's going to go right the way into my document, and that's going to go directly in there as typed maths, okay? So I've been able to photograph a standard page, a practice paper page, examples page. I've been able to photograph handwriting that I've carried out with both a question and a solution, and I've been able to get it into a digital format. So we can also use, I should just show you, and we don't have time today, but I also, if I have my mobile phone as a teacher, have the ability to press the microphone button and I can simply speak maths into my phone, okay? I can also, at this stage, go right the way back and I could directly include my handwritten maths using this. So I'm just going to stop mirroring now so we can get back to the document that we have on screen. So this gives us the capability to grab maths and insert it into a document from anywhere. So this is us going through it in very basic formats. And I want to just look at one last thing that we might want to integrate, okay? So I'm going to go and I'm just going to insert a new line because I want to insert some maths content, sorry, some graphing content. How would I do that? Well, I can use this tool and I can insert a graph really, really easily. So let's say I just wanted to plot a simple coordinate directly on here, 1, 3, and all I'm going to do in my question is ask the student to find that. Well, I could insert that graph really, really easily just by pressing the Insert Graph button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. That graph is being created really super fast directly in my document. But the purpose of the day is not to necessarily create new resources, but to repurpose. So how could we use this tool with online sources and include graphs? And the answer is this is a Desmos graphing calculator. So if you have a free Desmos account, you can go to desmos.com. You can search for and view sample graphs that all of the other teachers that use Desmos around the world have created. And we can now reuse these in our resources. And it's very easy to do. So this is me logged in. This is just a free account. This is all of the graphs that I have searched up before and they're available to me that I've reused. So let's say, for example, I want to do a period and amplitude graph. I found the one that I want. Okay, this looks good. It may not be the final level that I want it at. I could obviously change some of these areas on the graph as well to change the question. Now, all I need to do here to get this into a document is go up to my toolbar, okay? And I'm going to simply copy that link, go back to my document. I'm going to open up my graph editor at the bottom, just like we did before. But instead here of putting in those coordinates, I'm just going to paste in that link that I just copied from the internet, from desmos.com. And now I have a graph here that I can reuse easily. So I've been able to reuse a graph from the Desmos community in any document that I have. It's accessible and it's easy to use as we go forward. So that gives us the capability to reuse and create resources from many, many functions really simply. But I want to, just as we start to kind of polish off the last 5 or 10 minutes today, I want to show you how those then are used in very practical ways. So let's look at a couple of different things here, okay? So we've used Google Docs there, but we could also use slides as well. So as an example, this is going to work in slides. I'm going to open my EQUATIO box. So remember the functions sheet that we had up, okay? So I'm going to be going through my functions sheet, okay? I've found a question. I want to give students the capability to add this to a slide deck or a collaborative slide deck and work it out. All I need to do is open EQUATIO. I want to drag the screenshot box around the text that I want. Again, it's going to play it out, but I just want to copy the LaTeX. I'm going to go right the way back to my slide deck, okay, and this could be in PowerPoint now as well. Okay, so now within here, all I simply need to do, go to my LaTeX editor and paste. And you'll see here again, I can edit this in any way that I want. So I'm going to say, look, and I know this is not correct maths, but I'm just going to change that and insert that directly in. And that'll give us our question directly within our slide deck. So it starts to become quick and easy to generate or regenerate maths into a slide deck. So now what we've given students is a big canvas area to work it out. Add a new slide, copy and paste a new piece of maths from elsewhere. And this is not just a screenshot, because remember, students can edit this up really easily. That becomes really important because when we start to do shapes and stuff, we can press edit maths and use this example as a way for students to use manipulatives within there and answer that question. So that gives us the capability to do that. But perhaps one of the better ways to show you how we can start to use these is to actually go into a Google form, okay? So here's a standard Google form. And what I've done within this Google form is used lots of those buttons that we've seen before to create a maths-rich form really fast. So not just a multiple choice form, but a form that enables us to have rich, accurate, accessible maths in. So I've done that in the first question. In the second question, I've used that math space area that we've saw before, and we've allowed us to draw, and it has allowed us to draw manipulatives and images to express maths concepts. Very easy. If we wanted to show you an example of how we could do that, okay, if I'm just asking to simplify a question within this form, I could simply go, right, well, I want you to simplify 8/16. And I have a really fast way to input maths that is accurate, is representative, and is accessible in this document. It's the same way, the right angled triangle you saw me draw before, it was really easy to do that. How do we do that? Well, let me delete this and let me show you really quick. This is how quick it is to recreate some content. So I'm going to remove that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert this by pressing the math space button you saw earlier on. I'm going to go right away here, and I'm going to very quickly draw this just for the purposes of time. I'm going to go down to my shapes, down to my right angle triangle. I'm going to take the triangle. Of course, I would label that up, mark the right angle triangle, and I'm going to just press insert. Guess what happens? That inserts it as part of my question into my form. So now I've got a fast way to build a form. We could have pasted the link in from Desmos to insert a graph. So this particular graph function right here, what if we wanted to insert that graph? What do? We press the EQUATIO button, we go down, we go to graph editor, the graph editor from before. Hopefully the link is still here, and it's not. Okay, so it's not there. Let me just grab that really quick. So I'll grab that. Okay, remember what we did before. On the Desmos, copy it. We go right the way back in here, paste it, and then simply insert it. And now we've been able to borrow resources from elsewhere, put them into our own form. Okay, so we're nearly done here, but what I want to show you here is, for example, if we just created something really simple like solve, remember what could we do? We could press the insert EQUATIO icon right here, this little blue button. As soon as you got this EQUATIO extension installed, this button's going to appear on your Google Forms. We could again go back to this. Remember this one from earlier? So I'm going to screenshot this because I want this in my form. I'm going to drag my box around it. I'm going to press the three buttons. I'm going to copy LaTeX. I'm going to go right the way back to my form. Okay. And I'm going to go LaTeX. I'm going to remember, always delete what was in there before. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to insert maths. And now, right now, we have that maths question completed and inserted directly in there. What happens then is we've been able to grab resources from lots of different places, and we now have maths-rich resources created by borrowing, by reusing, by editing, by grabbing from web pages. We're able to pop that directly into a formative assessment piece. So it's really, really easy to create maths from other sources. And of course, we can use the same way to make this into a quiz and have it automatically answered. So this is a good way to create maths either from scratch, as we did in reuse and recycle document here. It's a great way to create it from handwritten maths or from existing maths content. And don't forget, the features that we saw today are all there for all students to access. So if students still prefer bookwork when they're answering the questions that you've asked by using this method, they can still just take a photograph with their mobile phone and it will convert their handwritten maths content and solutions and answers directly into maths that's digital, it's expressive, and captures the accuracy of their handwriting. And that's how we can take that and turn it into some formative assessment. And there's one last thing to look at, and this I promise will be very quick. And this is another part of EQUATIO called EQUATIO MathSpace. You just access this on a web browser, equatio.texthelp.com. Okay, so you can just access it right here. Very easy to do. You'll need an EQUATIO license to do that, and we'll show you how to get that just in the next couple of minutes. But this is designed as a workflow solution to help us create maths resources in a snap and allow us to share that with students and get feedback. We don't have time to go through that. That's an hour in and of itself. But I'm going to create one maths resource really fast, okay? And I'm going to show you how and which way this can be used. So all I'm going to do here is I want to add a different shape. I'm sure we're all bored of right angle triangles. So let's go to my next favorite shape, which is a sphere. I'm going to draw a sphere directly here. And for example, my question could have been calculate the volume of the sphere. When students get this question, I've created it quickly, they get the ability to use these tools to answer it and send it back to you in one click. But what I want to do is show you a different way that this could be done to create a really super fast resource. I'm going to add new page. So this just kind of looks like a slide deck. But what I can do, instead of using all these wonderful tools, the annotation tools, the smart shapes, all of these tools down here, I'm going to import a file. Okay, so I'm going to import a file, and the file that I'm going to import is very simply one of the worksheets that I photographed earlier. So it's just a straightforward photograph. I've taken with an iPhone, I've taken it in a dark room of a page. I'm going to import it into my document right here. There's the page with the sample questions. Very easy. I've photographed it the wrong way around on my iPhone. So I can turn it around. I can change the size. Okay, so I can change the size really easily. I can make this as big as I want. But guess what happens here is I've just taken a photograph, not the neatest thing in the world, but what does it do in terms of a quick resource? It gives students, when I send it to them, the ability to use freehand drawing so they can write over this document easily. They could label certain things on this document right here really easily and provide some answers. But what they could also do is, if you want them to work things out, they could simply start to type using the content in the bar and the tools in the bar right here, insert maths content, and that's going to be right here. So they've got all of this area on the left hand side of the screen to show each of the answers and working out for the questions. Imagine how quick that is. We want to do that all over again. We just simply insert a brand new page. We simply insert, we click to upload. We'll go in, we'll produce a different image right away here. Hopefully this one's ready for us. Okay, so now we've got a different photograph right here. And this is again from the same booklet, just practice questions. We can send that to students and we can get students to complete this using the tools of EQUATIO. Or we could ask them to use the margins on the right or left hand side to work it out. So we've created this resource, okay? And I'll just put questions in here, okay? Want to share it with student, press share, make a copy for each person and expect a response, continue. I can share that through my Google Classroom. I could just share that link through an email. And once I share it, the students automatically get notified that I've set them new questions. They'll automatically have the tools available to them to complete this and also return it. And guess what happens? Whenever it comes back to me, I have the ability to actually change how I view this. So I'm going to change myself to a, let me see, a green pen, my favorite marking color. So let's say a student had completed this work. It would be returned back, would see student writing on either side. We've now got access to our freehand drawing tool, and we've got the ability now to start to mark or to create any of the questions that come back in. So this gives us the ability to create a resource really fast, simply from a photograph, and share it out with students. But it also gives us the capability to add rich content into that. You saw the shapes that we have, smart shapes. These go right the way through maths and physics up to 18 years of age level of study and beyond in the higher education. So there are loads of ways to use this. And that's the end of the practical piece today. So I'm just going to finish off with just a couple of slides. I won't even play the deck out for you, but I want to remind you that what you've seen today is available across any platform. So you can get these tools and run them on any device. If you want to create the resources on a Mac or on a PC or on a Chromebook, you can do that. If your students only have iPad devices, they get access to MathSpace directly there as well to complete that workflow and complete those questions you've asked. A quick reminder, equatio.texthelp.com is how you get the MathSpace. We'll hopefully share this slide deck through the team at ECIS later on today. We've seen today with just those two tools that you see, forget about any other tools that you saw, the ability for students to complete PDFs, to capture content for you as a teacher from any source that you want, to digitize handwritten maths. That really helps improve the accuracy of handwritten maths as well. And also to create tasks directly from scans using MathSpace. We have lots of help and support after today. You can reach out and get it from my colleagues in the education team at TextHelp. text.help/RL Teachers. That's our current remote and blended learning wakelet. That'll show you how to get EQUATIO as a tool. It'll give you teacher training in depth, far beyond what we could do today. But there's also a student version there as well. So when you've created these fabulous resources and you've been able to reuse other resources, Getting students involved is really, really important, and the RL Students link on your screen will help you. We have lots of ways we can help after today. So if you want to go into a pilot in the new academic year, my colleagues here, Carrie Ann's on the call, on the Zoom call as well. She can help do that and arrange it. We can get this into your school and in the hands of all of your teachers for the new academic year and give you all the help and support that you need. We back that up with training, with YouTube clips, with the wakelets that you saw, and lots of resources. I am, as always, out of time. I always run over. People that know me do know that. We do thankfully have a few minutes to spare here for some Q&A if you guys have any questions. If there's no questions there, by all means, do reach out. I will help. That is my after COVID-19 mugshot on screen there. You'll see that I haven't lost any weight and my hair is definitely a lot shorter. But do reach out, edtech@texthelp.com, or on Twitter @th_PatrickM, and I'll be more than pleased to help you with anything that you need, as will the rest of the team in TextHelp. And with that, I'm going to hand back to, I think, Georgie, if you want to jump in and see perhaps if there's any questions that we can help anybody with on the call today.
Wonderful, Patrick. I'll let you catch your breath, because I honestly am absolutely blown away with the facilities and the uses and tools, and I only wish that I'd actually had something like this when I was preparing my resources all those times back. So thank you so much. It's just an incredible resource. Got lots and lots of comments and feedback. I'll share some of those, and we do have some questions here as well. Everyone's sort of saying, Shirley was saying that whoever created this program is a genius. So it's great to hear. A couple of queries which we'll pick up with afterwards, just connect people that may need sort of one-to-one support if they've used this before. And as Carrie Ann mentioned, this is not just used for sort of maths. There's other applications as well. Have you got some creative ways that this can be used outside of maths, Patrick?
Yeah, the strength of it is a maths product, Georgie, but the strength of it really is maths and science. So we use it very heavily within the physics classroom, within the chemistry classroom. I mean, and one of the things here that we've just added, actually, if I have 2 seconds just to open it up, I'll show you really quickly. If there's any chemists in the room, we have added a considerable number of STEM tools here. But one of the things here is just something simple like the periodic table. So hopefully you can see that. I'm still sharing my screen.
Yes.
But if I want to look more in depth at something like silver, I can pick the element, I can get a graphical representation, an image of that, and all of the data I need, and jump right into my Wikipedia entry as well. So it gives me some really, really nice reference points. And of course, the other thing that we didn't mention there was, we of course do have a full calculator built in here as well, Georgie. So the calculator is there, full scientific calculator, and that's of course fully accessible also. So really, when we start to look at maths teachers, we look beyond that into anything that has maths content, but primarily physics and chemistry for the maths content that's there.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. I'm just keen to get through these questions. Mohammed, bless you, you shared the email address for desmos.com online. He's also asked if there's any other sort of YouTube channels or other media resources to actually use to enable us to use EQUATIO software. I think you shared some of those on that other page. So
yep, so I'm just going to jump back to that page.
Yep.
And those are probably the best links, because if you look at the one bottom right hand side there, guys, text.help/RL teachers, that is case sensitive. That'll get you to what we call our wakelet. That has a compiled set of resources. So things like quick reference guides and the YouTube resources, lots of videos, long ones, short ones, and that will also link to our main YouTube channel with lots of really, really good EQUATIO resources there.
Brilliant. Okay. Preetha asked, can this be directly linked to Google Classroom?
Yes, so for example, if you're creating a quiz in Google Classroom, once you have EQUATIO installed, all of those EQUATIO features that you saw for Google Forms or quizzes, as they're called within Classroom, will automatically appear. We also have direct share buttons. So when we create resources in math space that you saw just right at the end, we can simply press a share button to Google Classroom, and that's fully integrated. So all we then have to do is pick the class or the individual set of students you want to send it out to, and we can send that right out. That's really easy to use. Google Classroom is embedded and linked to all of our products. It's been a very important thing for us this year.
Brilliant, thank you. We've also got a question, obviously, how can we use this at preschool or kindergarten? So have you got sort of any examples of how that could be used?
Yeah, I'm happy to share those after today. That's a whole webinar in itself, Georgie, in terms of how we use this. And the interesting thing about EQUATIO is that it really does work from early years right the way through to higher ed. And so we're playing in the middle at this point, and maybe early secondary and some of the stuff in late primary that we're looking at today. So I'll be more than happy to share resources that would help down at that particular age group. The manipulatives area in particular that we saw earlier within math space has a very hands-on approach to visualize maths. So we can have simple coin counters and number lines. We can import real world images directly into that to represent mathematical concepts. So we can really take that and make maths very visual and very hands-on, and take great use of things like iPad and the touch facility with an iPad for younger children. So yeah, I'm happy to share that on after today. George, if you can put us in touch.
Yeah, brilliant. What we will be doing is actually, we have a recording of this. We will be emailing out. We'll send out all of the links as well, Patrick, to all of the people that have attended and those that weren't able to join us as well. And thank Preetha, because she's beat me to it. She's asking me whether we're planning any more webinars in the near future. Absolutely, yes. We do have a series of ECIS webinars that are free. Anyone can join at any point, and they're going to be running through the summer and into the autumn. And that includes 2 more with TextHelp, which focus in on blended learning and also building literacy support. So sort of more of the English and maths side. Did you want to just mention a little bit more about those, Patrick, or should we just leave them as a surprise?
Yeah, no, we can leave them as a surprise, but needless to say, the products that I mentioned earlier on in the opening of the presentation obviously feed themselves very well into blended learning because they work equally as well in the classroom and outside. So we've got some great strategies in and around that concept of how we can reach every learner no matter where learning is happening. And then certainly on the literacy side, of course, with Read and Write, we're very well known for that. So that's not just about providing accessibility in terms of literacy, but it's about helping EAL students, it's about helping multilingual students, it's about ensuring that we can improve fluency of reading and of writing. So we'll be looking at the whole sphere, and that's a very exciting one. There's some great stuff to show there and some practical examples in all of the next 2 webinars ahead.
Brilliant. Okay, we'll wrap up here. I think there's lots more. You could probably spend a whole day on this, Patrick, but I think we've given everybody a great flavour. Everyone's saying thank you very much for this wonderful session. So we're really, really grateful for you taking the time to come and share this great resource out. I think it's got fabulous sort of opportunities for inclusion as well to support with kids with dyspraxia and dyslexia,
Absolutely.
for example. So, and I've seen it work really well in those areas. We will send out more information with you. If you want to sign up for any more webinars, if you go to ecis.org/webinars, and as I mentioned, you can sign up for all of them or one of them, entirely up to you as well. And we will be sending out more information about TextHelp to all of you after today. Thank you so much, Patrick. Great to see you again.
Georgie.
Take care. Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too. Thanks to all the team there.
Bye-bye.